All right, let's go to the guest line. Bring in our buddy Brett Friedlander, the ACC insider columnist for the Wilmington Star-News. Brett, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Sturge. How about you?
Man, it is Thursday. It's Halloween, and we have to ask you the most pressing question of the night that every caller has to give an answer to. What's your not what you're dressed up as? I want the hardcore truth of what's your favorite Halloween treat.
Oh, without a doubt, Almond Joy. I love it's like I love the mix of the coconut and the nuts and all that. So yeah, I made sure I've got some of those. And when the kids come, I'm giving them the Kit Kats and I'm giving them the Baby Ruths and stuff. But I'm leaving the Almond Joy here for myself. It's kind of sad a little bit because my kids are grown now. But I used to love when they go trick or treating. They come back and you'd put all the candy that they get on the table.
Uh-huh.
And if you see one that you like, the Snickers or the Almond Joy, or
yep.
So, this one's open. I got to throw that one away. Only you throw that one away in the drawer so that when they go to bed, you eat it.
I bought the bad candy that I don't like, so I wouldn't eat it in the last week. But I've got dibs on that bag of Kit Kats that my wife brought home today. Hey, Brett, it's been amazing. We are down on the back, past the back half of this ACC football season. What have been your surprises so far in this league in 2013?
Well, I think the biggest surprise is Jameis Winston and Florida State. Not that they're good, not that they're really good, but that they're national championship consideration good. And everybody thought that Clemson was the team to beat. The fact that the Seminoles had to come to Death Valley, freshman quarterback and all that. And I just think that the way that they have played and the way that Jameis Winston has really risen to the occasion has surprised the daylights out of me. Miami has surprised me a little bit too, but their record is really deceiving because they really should have lost the last 2 weeks. And if they get down 14 early to Florida State, ask Dabo and the boys what it'll be like. There won't be any coming back and scoring with 16 seconds left. And then the other one, because it's here in the Triangle. Maybe not nationally, maybe not in the ACC, but I'm just really, very pleasantly surprised and really, really happy for David Cutcliffe. And
oh yes,
last year they were 6-2. They ended up losing their last 4. Well, they're 6-2 again this year, but I don't think this team is losing its last 4. Number one, because the schedule is not the same, and number two, this is just a much better team, especially defensively. Duke has never played in bowl games in 2 consecutive years. And they're getting ready to do that this year. And so I think that's a surprise. And like I said, it's good for the ACC because, for years Duke was that easy win that you would circle in red before every season. Say, okay, there's one. And now it's not. And it's just good for the conference to not have, that one anchor at the bottom of the conference. And Duke is now, growing past that.
And Brett, what I love about Duke, because I consider Cut a friend of mine. I've known him since Knoxville when he was offensive coordinator at Tennessee. They're not doing it the conventional Duke way, which is scoring a lot of points. When you go up and you go toe-to-toe with Virginia Tech and you come out of there with a 13-10 win, then you're a lot more physical than people thought you were.
Yeah, and you know what? They beat Beamer ball by playing Beamer ball, taking it away.
That's right.
Kicking 2 long field goals. It was really right out of the Frank Beamer playbook, and it was really cool to see because you're right. When you think about Duke and you think about games that they're winning, you're thinking about games where it's basically a basketball score and it's a track meet. But you're right, Duke is, look, Kenny Ananiki, one of the best defensive ends in the league. Nobody knows who he is. Kelby Brown, a linebacker who's now healthy. He's been hurt the better part of the last 2 years. And then the guy who's really solidified that defense is a safety by the name of Jeremy Cash, who played as a freshman at Ohio State, transferred to Duke. They tried to get him a waiver so that he could play last year, was not able to do that. Well, he's back now, and he's, I think, second in the ACC in tackles. He's a real physical kid who's just solidified that back end because they've already got Ross Cockrell, who's a good cover guy. But now they've got a safety who can both cover and hit, play the run and the pass. And it's really starting to gel for them. And look, the last 4 games that they have are against North Carolina, NC State, Wake Forest, and Miami. Conceivably, given the way that Miami has played the last 2 weeks, God forbid Duke could win out and end up 10-2 and be the Atlantic Division champion. I don't think it's going to happen.
All right.
I think they'll end up winning
Yeah.
2 of those 4 and end up with 8 wins, which, if Jimbo doesn't go undefeated, then Cutcliffe is the coach of the year again.
Yeah, I agree. And they may likely end up out in El Paso in the Sun Bowl if they get 8 or 9 wins. Have they thrown the towel in on Tobacco Road outside of Durham and are just counting down the days to, Thursday night in the college basketball season beginning?
Yeah, well, actually not necessarily. North Carolina really has started to pick up a little bit of steam. There was the Miami game that they really should have won. They threw away in the last possession, letting Miami drive 90 yards for the winning touchdown in the last 4 minutes. But they came back strong this week against Boston College. And they've got a pretty interesting dynamic with their 2 quarterbacks now. Brent Renner is more of a passer. Marquise Williams has been the wildcat guy, but now he's coming in. They're running the read option, throwing the ball, basically running the whole playbook. And, they really looked good the last couple of weeks, even though they only went 1-1. And the thing with North Carolina is their schedule was so front-loaded. I mean, think about the losses that they have right now. South Carolina at South Carolina, Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech, Miami and Virginia Tech. The Virginia Tech game was also in Blacksburg. You look at the back end of the schedule now, and they've got Wake Forest, they've got NC State, they've got Duke, they've got Old Dominion, and they've got at Pittsburgh. They've got to win 4 of the last 5, but all 5 of those are winnable, and they have not given up on going to a bowl yet. NC State, Dave Doran right now has got a lot of injury problems. They got hammered by Florida State last week. But the good news for them is they've got that rivalry game against the Tar Heels coming up. And so there's a lot of excitement right now in Raleigh about that game. Whether that excitement continues and, the basketball season gets put in the back burner for another few weeks will depend on the outcome of Saturday's game, I think.
We're talking with Brett Friedlander, ACC insider columnist for the Wilmington Star-News. And, Brett, what do you make of Paul Johnson's situation at Georgia Tech? A lot of 7-win seasons. Now you can almost make the claim that those first couple of years he won with Chan Gailey's players. And I saw attendance has now dropped to under 47,000 per game at Georgia Tech. He's working under a new athletic director, and let's be quite frank, he can be difficult to deal with from time to time. What do you make of Paul Johnson's future at Georgia Tech, and can they let's be realistic, can they be any more than a 9-win program on a good year?
I don't know. It's hard to say with anybody because under the right set of circumstances. Look at Miami. They came back. Look at Wake Forest a few years ago when they had that really good group. Let's go back to Paul Johnson here for a second. I think the thing that you said, of all the factors that you said, the most important is the attendance. When the fans start to kind of lose interest, and they start to get a little bit lackadaisical, what happens then? So do the contributions and the fundraising, and nothing will get a president and an athletic director and attention more than that. I look at what happened with Tom O'Brien last year, and he had a string of 3 straight winning seasons, 3 straight bowls, but they really seemed to be kind of plateaued. And he had a new athletic director, and Debbie Yao didn't hire him. And I think that she felt like that program under Tom O'Brien had gotten to where it was going to be. That's what you see is what you get kind of thing. And she brought in a young guy who's changed systems, and obviously you can't judge, what he's doing, on this 1 year because it was going to be a rebuilding year anyway, even if O'Brien had stayed. But I look at the Georgia Tech situation, and it's very similar. You've got, Dan Radakovich, I believe, is the athletic director. That's who the athletic.
No, he is now at Clemson.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they brought.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
okay. They brought in the new athletic director, and I knew Radakovich was involved in that dynamic. But no, they brought in a new athletic director who didn't hire him. Like you said, he can be kind of prickly, and he runs an offense that when it is winning, the fans will embrace because they're winning. When it's not, it's really kind of, something that everybody likes to complain about because it's really not that exciting. And, of course, if you get behind, it's tough to come back. He's plateaued at about 6, 7 to 8 wins, and it may come down to whether or not he can beat Georgia this year. And Georgia this year appears to be beatable. That's something he has had a hard time doing. And it may behoove him to beat Georgia and finish with those 9 wins, because if he finishes with 8 and doesn't beat Georgia, he may be looking for a job. Now, he's the kind of guy who will not stay unemployed for long, but, it may not be at Georgia Tech.
That's right. All right, final question for you. Can Mike London survive this season at Virginia, and can you see a scenario where they go ahead and pull the trigger and name Tom O'Brien interim head coach?
Well, if it does happen, that would be the scenario. But here's the thing, and I heard you talking about this before I came on. These are tough economic times, and Virginia is one of those schools that I don't know if they can afford to continue to pay a coach to not coach. Craig Littlepage has come out and said that Mike London got this year and he's going to be back next year. Of course, the dreaded vote of confidence is. There's no guarantees when that happens. And in fact, a lot of times it's the kiss of death. But I'm going to take him at his word, because I think that financially, it doesn't make sense for Virginia to get rid of him now. Now, at the end of the season, maybe he changes his mind, especially if it ends up being a 2-10 season. And from the looks of things, that's very possible. It's going to be interesting, and what's going to be even more interesting is if he goes with O'Brien, or if he wants to change direction, completely, and go to, the growing trend of spread offenses, up-tempo, the kind of, situation that kids these days want to play in. I mean, Tom O'Brien runs a pro-style offense, a smash-mouth kind of, beat you up front on the line of scrimmage, and, with a straight drop-back passer, the defenses are pretty vanilla. And kids these days want to play video game football, and so we'll see. I think he's going to stick around. I think he'll get next year, unless of course he loses out, and then But I think he'll at least make it through the end of the season. I don't think they're going to make a change here until all is said and done.
All right, Brett, tell our listeners where they can find your work with the Wilmington Star News, how to follow you on Twitter, and everything else that you're involved with, including your radio show, I believe, on Monday nights now. Or Monday afternoon, excuse me.
Monday afternoons from 4 to 6.
Yep.
And we've changed stations, so I'll have to give you the link to listen to the streaming audio on it the next time. But on Twitter, you can get me at Star News ACC. You can also find my blog at starnewsonline.com. Just click sports, look on the left-hand side, all the blogs are there, and I'm the ACC Insider.
All right, Brett, you're the best. Thanks much for your time tonight. Happy Halloween, and hope there's a lot of Mounds and Almond Joys coming your way.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, talk to you later. Brett Friedlander, ACC and Insider columnist. I'm telling you, that's a guy right there that has his thumb and forefinger on anything pulse-wise when it comes to this league. Off the break we go, 7:46. Sorry about missing a break a little bit, but we connected with Brett a little bit later in the segment, and we'll come back and give you some Clemson information on the other side. We are Talk Sports 104.9 FM, the flagship station of Clemson Athletics.